What's poppin', y'all? We back with another episode with the DeAndre Way podcast session. And today we are covering the trust, but we have a very special guest with the trust, a game of greed, coming with me all the way from Portland, Oregon. She is an astute woman who made her mark on the game. Everybody was saying her name like Destiny's Child when she exited the game, and it was getting crazy up in here. But she definitely was a force to be reckoned with, and she came to the game with a mission. I have no further pleasure to introduce the beautiful, smart, cunning, witty Miss Lindsey Anderson. What's going on?
DeAndre, I loved that intro, including the call out to. I love that song. Do we need to sing it right now? I love
I
it.
mean,
Thank
look,
you.
now, no problem. I had to, it's just what was going
That's just
through,
what's happening for you. Yes, I mean, if you look out on Reddit, you're right. There's multiple threads dedicated to my name. So say my name.
Exactly. And so, I mean, we might have to sing it at the end of this because
I know,
it was
like
just
we
going
were gonna
on.
have to do this.
No one is around you. Say,
Say,
baby, I
baby, I
love you.
love you. Yeah.
She know. Well, Lindsay, how you doing today? How you doing?
I'm doing really fantastic, DeAndre. So yeah, it's been a wild ride with the show coming out, but it's great. It's such a wild ride. What else can you ask for in life?
Exactly. Well, we gonna jump right into it, Lindsay. Tell me, why did you decide to apply for the trust?
DeAndre, I actually didn't apply for the trust. A scout actually about 4 years ago for a different show. And that show ended up getting canceled. Well, I think by the pandemic, they don't really let you know. And then all of a sudden, in February of 2023, I come to my desk, and in my inbox is, I'm from Netflix. Uh, do you have a passport? Can you leave in 2 weeks? I have the perfect show for you. Are you ready to go? And this was like 4 years later. And so I had already done a lot of thinking beforehand. And I was like, time is here. Let's go. Let's go do this.
Okay. It kind of seemed like it happened pretty abruptly. Wow,
In about
that's
two
amazing.
weeks. Yeah. So I'm very lucky to have my husband is very hands on with the kids. So like we already have a schedule and a situation. My company is set up to where everything is in a system. So there really wasn't a good reason for me not to go, especially because I'm a huge reality TV show fan. And to be on the other side of camera, like it was wild. Yes, I'm all in.
Okay, nice. And so you say you're a big reality TV show fan. What shows are you like real in tune with? Just curious.
Okay, Big Brother all day, every summer, 3 days a week, all the time. So anything Big Brother related, including Big Brother Canada and anything like that. I've watched The Traders, The Mole, The Circle, like these psychological group games. I'm totally into those 15, those 19 years of watching Big Brother every summer with my husband. I was like, we would analyze every player and do this and don't do that. So actually, when I went into the house for the trust, I was playing Big Brother, and you don't want to play Big Brother with a lot of people that aren't playing Big Brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's very hard. I mean, if you're not all playing and some people are just there, you're gonna look like the hardest one going, and then you're gonna be the one people are looking at like, whoa, like you're doing too much, so we got to get you out. And
Yeah,
so,
and in fact, as a side point, I went in that very first day, and as you know, maybe in Big Brother, the first person you align with, typically on day one, becomes your person to the end, your ride or die. So I cornered Gasper, and I'm like, dude, this is day one, because we both had young kids, we had some stuff in common. I'm like, do you want to be like in an alliance, me and you to the end? And he was like, hey, whoa, lady, I don't know what is going on with you, but I started playing pretty hard, and there was a huge target on me. So that first table where we voted Jewels out, and like he made Tolu and Winnie, upset with a couple of things he did, and they were like, "We're voting Jewels out." I had to make that insurance vote for myself because everyone was coming after me because I was playing Big Brother when nobody else was.
okay. Well, definitely. Well, so before we get to that part, though,
Sorry, I didn't
I
mean to
want
skip ahead there,
no, it's okay.
DeAndre.
You good. You good. We can go wherever we want. You go wherever you
Okay.
want. But I was just gonna ask before then also. So you find out you're on the show and whatnot, and you're packing your bags the night before you head out to the Dominican Republic. What's going through your head?
Like, how is this my life right now? Like, I have watched Big Brother all this time. What is this going to be like? What am I like? I mean, I was scared, but like really excited. I finally got to the airport, and I remember just sitting there, finally gathering my thoughts and just being like, is this, are you really doing this, Lindsay? Like, this is really happening. And like, there's no turning back moment at that point once I got to the airport, you know? So it was wild. It was wild.
Definitely. And all this mystery, a brand new show you know nothing about. They're not telling you much. So definitely it's all just a lot of anxiety probably going through the roof at this point. But
You know,
soon you
I like excitement. So for me, I mean, it was exciting. So I'm all in.
okay,
I'm
good.
all in.
Excellent. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, you get to the island, you do your quarantine, and then it's time to eventually go to the house. And so, you get they blindfold you guys, I was told, and you get there. And so when you first see everyone on the cast and you take off your blindfold, what's going through your head?
I'm trying to figure out who to align with. Like, who do I have the most in common with? Who is most approachable? Who can I go talk to? Who's coming after me? Who definitely doesn't like me? Like, what needs to go down right now? And also, because we were blindfolded, like we were in those cars blindfolded for like hours, okay? Like hours. And so finally you get out in the sun and you're kind of like, also it's like really hot out there, it's and like you're reshooting, like it's a real situation.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. It looked really hot, but it looked really beautiful as well. And so it was cool. But yeah, soon, yeah, you see everyone, you sizing everyone up, and then the host Brooke comes out, and she explains a little bit of the rules. She said there's $250,000. You all winners, and you probably did the math. That divided by 250,000 divided by 11 is roughly $20,000, and it's not like life changing or anything like that. It's something. It helps for sure. Like, who wouldn't take that? But it's we all kind of there for a little bit more at this point. But yeah, we get that, and then once you hear these kind of rules and whatnot, or the semi rules, what are you thinking?
So I like you, and there was an interview segment on the show where you hear me be like, yeah, I mean, that's not like, I'm not going to be doing anything really drastic for that kind of money. But for me, it was never about the money. It was about playing Big Brother and like making it to the end and strategizing. That was always the reason. So the fact that the money wasn't life changing was like totally okay for me. It was never my reason.
Okay, okay. Well, we soon we get in there, and everyone's starting to meet each other, having pleasantries and whatnot. And soon you know, you we get to the first test. I keep calling them games. We get to the first test, and it's basically, you have a box of secrets, and random people will read each secret, and someone can say if it's them or not. And so we get this started. You read the first one, and it's I regularly lie about my occupation, and everyone think it's Simone. Why you guys think it's Simone on this one?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I can't remember what my line of thinking was at that point. Besides, she said she was unemployed. And so we all thought, like, she's a lovely, like maybe she's not unemployed. Maybe she's something else. And so to me, I mean, that one wasn't like really huge for me.
Okay, okay. Well, we continue with that game, and it seems like a lot of like the negative, semi-negative connotations are going towards Jewels. What do you think about like how they think he's slept with over 150 people, and then he's the one most likely to lie, and then what about these things that you're kind of
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair, right? Like, I think you can hear me in that show be like, well, maybe it's not a man. Maybe a woman could also sleep with 150 people. Like, I wanted to open people's mind to that because, sure, Jewel's come in, like, he is a smooth dude, right? Like, he has his shirt unbuttoned and he's just very, like, he just seemed like he could, like, if he wanted to, like, he could. Like, he's not going to have a problem doing that. So, to me, it was like, to me, it was just like maybe Jewels. Yeah.
okay, okay, okay. Well, soon, yes, we also, you know, we finished that game up and whatnot, and it's ultimately there's no stakes. It's just kind of getting people to kind of learn about each other essentially, and people aren't trusting Joel after this for whatever reasons. Maybe the way he's talking, maybe the way he's presenting himself, but we finish it out, and then you decide to admit one of your secrets. Why? What ultimately made you want to kind of reveal this?
Yeah, so first of all, those secrets, those were not like, hey, here's some secrets. Use any of these that you want, put them in a box. That secret of mine, which was I had actually had an affair on a husband of mine 20 years ago with my current husband of 20 years. And that was actually something I said in an interview like 3 interviews back. And I remember saying it and being like, okay, we're not mentioning that again, but it was already there. So I was actually shocked that this was actually pulled out from everything that we had done. And so I had 2 options there. Either I'm smart enough to know, like, number one, those everyone, and this is what happened. Everyone started talking about whose secret is that? Whose secret is that? I didn't necessarily want people talking about me without me being able to control that message and the position around it. Like, there's 11 people, it's going to come out who did what. And that's also an opportunity for me to show vulnerability and to hopefully build some trust in the house. So either way, like, I felt like it was coming out. So let me control the positioning. So I decide, like, I've got to do this. I'm ready for it. It's also good TV. Let's rock.
Yeah, no, that was a really good game move by you. I mean, you said it yourself. It was opening people up and then getting the trust. The game's called the trust. So
Yeah.
you playing right into the hands of everything, and I think you in the driver's seat after that point. As early as it was. Um, but then we also, before we finish this little segment up, we find out that someone's a millionaire, and everyone thinks it's Bryce, of course. Why do you? What gives him away to you?
So Bryce, on that very, like, he was probably the 3rd person I talked to, and we walk through this house, and you've seen the house. It's like freaking Iron Man's house. This thing is a mansion. And as Bryce and I are walking through the mansion, he's pointing out like the marble and the like what everything's made of, and it's all expensive, and like it was obvious he knew that kind of lifestyle just by the conversation. And then him and I were the small business owners in there, so we really connected on that. He shared that he, sold real estate in Seattle. I'm from Portland. Like, it's not like, it's pretty great to be one of the best brokerages in Seattle. So to me, when that secret came out, I wasn't surprised at all that it was Bryce.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you're very astute to those things as well. So, well, soon after that, we find that Brooke pops back up and she says, she introduces the vault, and that's where people will go down and make decisions. And this first one, 2 people will get access to the key cards that can get into the vault. And there's 2 offers, one that benefits the group and then one that benefits the individuals. And the first 2 people in this vault is Simone and Joelle. So how are you feeling about them 2 going to the vault?
Great, as long as it's not me. We'll see you guys later. Again, I was trying to play the middle of the road. I knew enough that, like, if the spotlight is on you or you have to make a decision of any kind, like, there's going to be consequences. And I was trying to play a no consequence game.
Okay, definitely easy on the road right now. The consequences are very minimal for you. And
Yeah.
so, offer one, I know, I be wording stuff a little funny sometimes. So you don't have to take me for strides with that. But offer one for them is you can each take home $2,500 for the trust. If someone is cut, the next vote, offer two, $5,000 can be added to the trust. But you must block 2 people's votes, and they decide offer 2, and they decide to block Tolu and Bryce's vote. So how was the vibes after they announced whose votes they were blocking?
It wasn't great. Wasn't good. I mean, Tolu, I do not blame her. Like, having her vote taken away, just, I mean, it sucked. And like, I could see it sucked, and like, it sucked. And so the vibe wasn't good. It just, like, it did not settle well with Tolu. It didn't settle well with Winnie. It didn't settle well with me. It just didn't seem, it seemed like they were like, yeah, it just didn't seem great.
So what do you think would have been the best option for them?
I mean, that's a really good question. I've actually never contemplated that before, but I don't know. I don't know. Not Tolu. there's 10 other options for you.
So would you would have been upset if your vote got blocked?
I mean, I would have been annoyed for sure. Yeah, it's super annoying, and like, first impressions that they don't like you, and so they're gonna like remove your vote, and so yeah, I would have been totally annoyed.
So,
Absolutely.
so do you think they should have just took offer one in that instance?
No, I think they have to make the hard decisions. I mean, they made their decisions. I back that up. They had their reasons.
Okay, okay, okay. So, because I was told they weren't allowed to pick themselves.
Yes,
Um,
that is true. They did have to pick someone else. I mean, who else could they pick? Like they could have picked like a Brian because we knew that him and Jake and Gasper were like friends, and so like him missing his vote wasn't gonna be that big of a deal. And like we know how Brian's gonna vote from the second you meet him because he's just who he is from face value.
so you think he probably should have thought about more who
He,
would have had the least
yeah,
resistance.
like Brian's not gonna throw a fit about that, you know?
Hmm. Okay, fair, fair, fair. Well, soon it is time for the first trust ceremony, and the host says, everyone doesn't have to vote anyone out, or you can vote people out. What are you thinking going into this first one?
So I am thinking that I have a target and I have to place a vote. Winnie and Tolu were all in on voting out Jewels because of the vote and some other things. Like they didn't really feel like, Jewels uh they just like wanted to vote him out. So they were calling the shots. I was all in on the women's alliance at that point because I needed protection for sure. I had to like finally pick an alliance because of me playing too hard. And then you had like Mama J. This is something they didn't really show, but like even at that first table, Mama J's like, just out of the blue, she's like, I'm mad at someone and I'm gonna like cast a vote. And she's like, I like nobody knew who that was or what that was. Later, I asked her like, who was that, Mama J? Who were you so mad at this table? And she's like, it was you because she was like, we share a room, and she's like, you mentioned you don't like snorers, and I know I snored last night, and I was just like, whoa. So there was like a lot of targets on me. I really had to cast a vote, or like I mean, I was nervous.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can't just sit back, like you said later on, which we'll get to about Bryce, and kind of
Yeah.
let yourself fall into the flames and fall down into the stampede like Mufasa. You gotta make sure that you save yourself. You gotta hang on. You gotta hang on. But yes, ultimately, Jewels gets evicted, and he has 4 votes cast against him, and he is gone. So when he gets voted out, how's the vibe, according to you, at the table once he's gone?
Well, I think the women felt like we were able to like stand up for Tolu in that sense, and the boys weren't really playing, and so I felt like we were like on our way to victory. Like this is a good first step in this game. The boys on the other side of the house, they weren't playing so much. They were definitely just kind of like hanging out, and they were going with like let's just all get along, and so there wasn't a lot happening on that side of the house, and so the women kind of felt in control. I felt good after that vote. Now the boys weren't excited because they had no idea that that vote was coming, but just like being in the know with that vote made me feel secure.
Do you think that he was rightfully evicted? I keep saying evicted, voted out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Big Brother. Yeah, I mean, based on the knowledge that we had, and that he made that move against Tolu, and that was like the action, and you have to have consequences for an action like that. Then yeah, I mean, it made sense to me.
So do you think if he would not have picked Tolu, say he picked Bryce and he picked Brian, do you think he still would have been voted out?
I, I,
Eh,
I mean, I think things would have been much, much different.
Okay, cool, cool. Well, we move past that, and then now we find out that the trust amount is $255,000, and everyone's discussing, okay, it's a little bit more money and whatnot, but Brian is still shook about the votes, and it's a lot going on right now because there's this divide, but it's not as clear as day, but it's becoming that. And we learned that Bryce, this is when he reveals like he's been, how much he really makes and how he's been lying, and but he hasn't revealed it to the house yet. So eventually we get Brooke pops up, and it's time for the next test. And the next test is for everyone to be outside by the pool and rank themselves, lining up from least to most, depending on what the question is. And so the first one. So how did you feel about this test as a whole?
So that test as a whole, I felt like Winnie and Jake and Tolu and Julie, like those four very strong personalities were always fighting for like getting recognized at the front of the line. And like for me again, I was trying to play the middle of the line. Like I didn't really want to be the most or the least of anything. So I was just kind of letting those guys fight it out. As painful as it was to be like, oh, Lindsay's always at the end of the line, like I knew game wise, that's just like a better place to be. It's just like not noticed, laying a little bit low. So for me, those guys kind of arguing, I was like, I enjoyed that game.
Okay, so we do have a segment because it's during the game you says like you see you're upset because Jake did put you at the bottom, and because you guys had a meaningful conversation about your family earlier, and you seem kind of upset that you exposed yourself to him. So kind of elaborate on that because you
Sure.
said like it is a game, it is what it is, but you're at the end of the line, you feeling some type of way. So what's going on?
Yeah. So here this is that when Jake put everyone at the end of the line, it really triggered a lot for the women because Jake lined up all of the men like even before Julie, who he was romantically interested in. And so for women who have constantly been put second and have constantly been put down, in different parts of our lives, that triggered a lot of feelings that way. So the women, we all go upstairs, and this is what they don't show you. For an hour and a half, this conversation between all of the women in the house go on, and we're sharing about our history, and Tolu's talking and is so just amazing in her strength, and Winnie has stories, and I'm an ex-Mormon. And so growing up in Mormondom, like, you are kind of put down and you are second as a woman and you're not recognized. And so Jake unfortunately became the lightning rod for an hour and a half conversation between the women and I. So I did go in there, and you hear Jake on the interview say, I was using Lindsey for that information. Like, he basically said, I'm trying to get information from these guys. And so I picked up on that. So along with him triggering and all the women in the house with all of those stories, and he comes up, and I definitely let him have it, and I felt like he had used me with my family, which, as you noticed in the show, like, my family, like, like, all families are fragile, and I just felt used. Okay. And so I did let him have it. Now, what else they don't show you is the next morning, I felt really bad about not treating him with the respect he deserved. And I actually went up to Jake. He was eating breakfast, and I apologized for this, and disrespecting him and those kind of things. And after that, Jake and I were pretty close, actually. You'll see when I was voted out that he was the first person to hug me, because from that, like, break or that issue with our relationship, we were able to build trust based on that break. And him and I, like, I trusted him at that point on out.
Okay, yeah, that definitely clears a lot of things up and whatnot. So I appreciate you putting that in perspective because
Thanks
we
for
didn't really see
asking.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. And so yeah, we finished the line up in the ranking system per se. It's a game. It's a game. It's a test. There's no risks. Well, there's a reward, I guess, at the end because he gets to pick who goes in the vault. But nobody's losing anything per se from these tests, which is very interesting to note for the most part. For the most part,
Yeah.
there's a couple.
Yeah.
So yes, at the end he gets to decide who goes in the vault. He picks Bryce and Gasper. How you feel about that?
That's fine. I knew those two would, like, again, I was like in the middle. Like, I didn't think they would hurt me, but I didn't think they would protect me. So that sounds good. Let's send those guys.
Okay, cool. You do say, oh, let's send the most vanilla people who are playing Switzerland into the vault to make a decision.
Yeah,
Sarcastic.
I mean, I was not surprised that they came back and they're like, "Yeah, we're not going to make any hard decisions here. We're just going to go off the list on the wall." And that really, like, that was kind of annoying to me, because it's just like, come on, you guys, like, make a decision and, like, stand by it. But that's what they chose.
Yeah. No, you do. And the thing is, you do seem like the one person coming in here trying to like play, like you into these shows and whatnot, and so you want to kind of see some action instead of just like, oh, we're just like on the real world, we're kicking back and you're just not gonna do anything. And you came here to kind of do,
I want to do
do some.
stuff. I want to test stuff. I want to see if all the stuff we talked about worked. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But they get into the vault, and offer one is they can each take $5,000 out the trust for themselves, but they both have to cast a vote for the same person at the next trust ceremony. Offer two was they can choose to protect one person, but $10,000 will be subtracted from the trust. Ultimately, which we realized $10,000 would have been taken out either way. So I thought that was interesting that they didn't really talk about that too much. But once they tell you guys this and they tell you they pick offer two, what are you thinking?
I thought that. So I'm sorry. Was offer two? Was that the Julie offer?
Yes, they saved Julie as well.
Yeah, they saved Julie as well. I mean that as long as I wasn't involved, like to me, I was just feeling pretty safe at this point. So that sounds good. I'm not getting any attention here. That sounds great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. And Julie's safe. But there's still a lot of chaos going on because of who got picked in the vault and the line picking game. And yeah, that's after that. That's when you mentioned that you and Jake had your argument over whatnot, just because communication errors and whatnot. But then you rekindled and whatnot. But you give him a tongue lashing,
I sure
and
did. I
he's like,
sure
"Oh."
did.
He like backs up like the Homer Simpson meme in the bushes.
I haven't seen that, but yeah. I mean, admittedly, I will let me address that. Admittedly, not my finest moment, like you take they're videoing all day, every day for 3 weeks. Like these are in a really intense situation. Like certainly not my finest moment, not something that I want my kids to emulate. I will take like whatever anyone has to say about that. I agree with you. I totally agree. Like not how I want to be showing up, but that is what happened.
Yep. Well, soon, the next, after that, the following day, you guys have a meeting at the table. And, you say you're just trying to make it through this meeting without talking, or you're going to expose yourself. You're just trying to keep it shut, not say nothing. We're just going to let everybody else do the thing. So, did you end up saying anything at this table
Yeah,
meeting?
so I mean, yes, I don't want to expose like the more you say, and it was obvious, we would get around this table and everything anyone would ever say would always come back to bite them. So I felt like survival, like I'm just going to be as quiet as possible. But, Tolu would not let me be quiet, right? Like I remember a couple times on that table, she would be like, "We have not," and not even in a kind way, even just like we haven't heard from Lindsey. I'd sure like to hear from her. So, she wasn't gonna let me. She was a, you know, spoilers are okay, hopefully, but talking about her getting to the end, like she played the game the best.
She did play the game. She did play the game, and I wasn't mad at her at the end of how she did things. I had some things, some opinions on how she, you know, orchestrated some certain things and whatnot.
The
But
goal was to get to the end of the game. She did that.
yes, in the gameplay matter, in the gameplay span of things, I don't have an issue. It was just certain other things that I
Sure.
mentioned in some of the episodes. But look, this ain't about me. um,
Listen to another podcast episode for that.
Exactly. That's episode like 3, 4 recap that I do. Check it out. But yes, essentially, it's 8 out. We find out it's 8 hours of the trust ceremony. The current value is down to $245,000. And as we can see, there's a line drawn between the guys and the ladies in the house. And, you know, we also hear at this table roundabout that Simone does speak up for Jake in this. So how are you feeling when she speaks up about for him defending him?
I had already kind of knew that she felt that way. And so again, as long as I'm not the one fighting, like that sucks, but it's not me.
Okay, nice. Okay, neutral still. So we
Sorry.
all
Yeah. I mean, obviously I turned unneutral later, but like I was trying to play pretty neutral. That was my strategy.
floating. She's floating.
Yeah.
Get her a life vest.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. Okay. I hear it.
Nah, you was fine. You was fine. But soon we find out that you and Bryce are talking, and he admits to you that he's a millionaire. So when you first hear him say this, what are you thinking?
I mean, I'm thinking dude should not tell anyone that cannot get out. They will kill him because I after that secret thing, I went to Julie was the first one I went to be like, what do you think about my secret? Like, do you think I'm cool? What do you think? Like, I really was trying to build a relationship with her, and at that time she was like, if I find out whoever is the millionaire they are out of here. Like, she was pissed. And so I knew that could not get out. I knew Winnie and Tolu felt the same way. And so Bryce, in his defense, he's getting hammered about living his lifestyle and these things. But like, Bryce only knows what he knows. Like, he was grown up that way. He only knows that. He's young. He's just a nice guy. So it's not his fault that he I mean, even to a point where like I felt like I understood his wealth, but like it's even outside. Like there was times that I was like, wow, like I've never met anybody that, wow, that was
Mhm.
that well off. And so I knew that couldn't get out. But he just, it's like part of his identity, and he just really wanted to share that with people, and he felt proud about what he had accomplished in his life. And so you can't blame him, but just death sentence all day.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on the fact that he doesn't he's young to the fact of, and sheltered, I'd say, to the point of he doesn't know how to word things to where it comes across as not a big deal to people. Like you can you can have money, I think, but you have to be able to make things not sound so drastic and make things sound so boisterous and whatnot with your wealth. And I just think he just hasn't had enough life experience to, and then has people maybe in a circle that is in a low tax bracket, or just completely different from him. So I think that's just an age and maturity thing and exposure thing. So
Yeah, and just one more point on that. Growing up in as a Mormon, like I grew up extremely sheltered, just very sheltered. And there's times in my life, even as adult, I'm just like, whoa, like I just didn't know. And so I felt for him, and I really understood that about him.
yeah. Yeah, definitely, and and we see it. You kind of, you're sitting talking with him through this and just like listening, like, wow, like this is how your brain is operating, but you can't really help this. It's not like you have ill intent. It's literally just what you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he says he brought a Louis Vuitton bag, Armani shoes, Armani sunglasses, Ray Bans, the whole nine and whatnot. Did you notice any of these nice things that he had?
I'm not that tuned into like style. So we would like, I remember standing in that line for the Jake line, and I remember Bryce being like, "Oh, I noticed that you're wearing Coach sunglasses." And I'm like, "Oh, people are noted, like what am I, like I don't know. Like I'm not really, that's not my scene." So I didn't really notice.
I'd say in the rich community, not that I'm in the rich community or anything. I used to work at country clubs, but it's a big thing to like compliment people on their watches. Like if you know what kind of watch
Okay.
somebody's wearing, they love that. Or like earrings, they love that. So that maybe have been his strategy. And like, oh, if I compliment people on these nice things that they
Yeah.
have, butter them up, it'll get them on my side. So definitely, definitely a tactic. It kind of worked against him, but this not that was the name of the game and whatnot. But
Yeah, let's read our audience. Yeah.
exactly. I think he needed to read Julie a little bit more, but I guess he just overlooked that fact. He's like, she can't be that poor, right?
Yeah.
So, but soon, yes, it's time for the next trust ceremony, and everyone's at the table talking about how things went down, and um, this is when the before then the ladies talk about who we're gonna vote out, and Jay is not telling anyone who she's voting out. So, how are you feeling about that? Knowing she's voting, but she's not telling you.
She actually told me. So I felt pretty great. Yeah, I was the only one in the house she actually told. And so I was fine going into that ceremony as well. Like again, it sucks watching everybody fight it out and stuff, but like it's not really my place to stop it.
Okay. So she was just chilling. Got my feet kicked up on this one. I know what's going down, but I can't let y'all know around.
Yeah.
And yes, eventually, Simone gets voted out, and you know everyone's on high alert right now. So tell me the vibes after Simone left
The
the house.
boys were really pissed, obviously. Like they were not seeing that coming. Again, the girls felt empowered and ready to take on this game. And, the boys were just shocked. And I remember being up in the hall, and, I think that's on the show. There's like, whoever did this is just like the worst individual in the whole wide world. And like the girls are just like standing there like, oh my gosh, like we didn't, it had to happen.
I feel you. I feel you. Yes. Pour one out for Simone, but we move on to the next day, and it is time for the shuffleboard game. And eventually, the shuffleboard game is not really much. It's not really like a super impactful game. Like you guys play
No.
shuffleboard and save it. You win $12,000 roughly. And we move past it. Everyone's happy, kumbaya, and whatnot. And everyone seems to be, getting along better. People are opening up. Like Julie admits to Jake what she did, and he seems to take it fine. But then some people are plotting against Mama J because she had her little moment at the table before. How did you feel going into this next trust ceremony?
So I mean, Mama J was she was a loose cannon, and like she was coming after me that first time when I found that out. I was like, whoa. And as I loved Mama J, like her and I were smart enough I brought my crochet, she brought her cross stitch, and we would sit up in our room and just like do that all day. So I really like connected with her. It sucked that you just like you didn't know if you pissed her off or if she was in the wrong mood, if she was going to take you out. So if we're talking about protecting team and like maintaining control of the game, she was definitely an element that had to be like it made it way harder. And so going into that next voting ceremony, I'm sorry, which voting ceremony was that? Will you remind me?
So this is the one everyone is safe on.
Oh yeah, I mean, I kind of figured that way. I was happy to not vote because I didn't even feel at risk, and I also felt like, hey, see, I'm not here to attack everybody. I'm not here just to kill people for the fun of killing. Like, here, I can get along with people. I mean, it wasn't the funnest time in the house for me. The shuffleboard day, all of that, it was just like, okay, so we're just gonna chill and watch the whales. So I guess that's the show.
It's better
I
than
can
being
play.
stuck in
I
a
can
room.
do this.
Exactly. You know, I think you guys had a nice little view out there. I was jealous and
It was
whatnot.
awesome.
It looks sick. But yes, we soon find out that, Jake and Bryce go into the trust and they must make a decision on what they should do. Either, do one for themselves, which, is the $5,000, or get rid of or not vote anyone out in the 10,000. Actually, hold on a second. I am missing what the offer was. Yes. Well, offer one, they each get $10,000 from the trust if someone goes home at the next trust ceremony. Offer two is $2,000 added to the trust for each person that does not vote. So this definitely benefited everyone to not vote. And everyone thinks Jake obviously is gonna demand the room and make the ultimate decision, which honestly it wasn't. Bryce stood his ground and
Yeah, I
he
was proud of
eventually.
Bryce on that. Yeah, he knew what he was up against and he really stood up for himself.
Yeah, no, definitely. And they tell everyone. So how are you guys feeling once they come out and they tell you guys what happened? Are you guys like cool with that? Are you guys believing them? Like what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I believe them. Bryce is super. Jake is a super stand-up guy as well, as far as I knew in the house. So, like, I mean, yeah, I totally believe them. I don't think they were gonna lie.
Okay, cool. Well, yes, we eventually it's time for the trust ceremony. This is the one everyone's safe, kumbaya moment, and essentially we leave there and it's a time for reward. You guys get this fancy, elaborate dinner, and you each go out there and have a partner as well. And yeah, you guys are eating dinner and whatnot, but this is the time where Bryce finally decides to, stand up and it's time to, tighten his belt buckle and get to my seat. And he admits to everyone he's a millionaire. So how did you feel when he did that?
So I'd kind of coached him through because he was like, I'm definitely going to do this. This is like, I feel close to these people. I want them to know who I really am. So I tried to coach him through. So I knew this was coming. Now I do a lot of coaching as of my real job. And, I was ready. I was supporting him mentally. Now, the Uncle Brycey thing, 100%, should have been left out. That was not what we rehearsed. Um, the flipping of the shoe did not tell him to do that. Like, but it didn't go well. Like, I don't think that helped.
Yeah, it was. You could like you said earlier, you could know what he was trying to say, but it just like he just lost himself in the music the moment he wanted, and it was just he was like, yeah, I'm rich, I'm proud of it, and yada yada. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, he thought he
So
had a lot more connectivity with the group than he really did. Yeah.
yeah, and he just should have looked down at Julie's face, and that should have told him to.
That should have told him to stop talking.
Yeah, so I think that was pretty much what sealed it right there. I mean, there wasn't much
It
he
was
could do.
over, man. It was like it still echoes through my ears, and this was 9 months ago. So
Mhm. Yeah, and you're just like, let me just eat my food over here.
yeah, like
Drink this wine.
I'm pretty safe now.
Yeah, exactly. So we know Lindsay gonna make it through this elimination. But soon we find out that Gasper gets to decide who goes goes on the excursion because he did not get someone to pick him to go sit at the dinner table with. And so he picks Julie and Brian. How do you feel about him picking those two?
Not surprised. Not surprised. I mean, Julie is a sympathetic character. She was sympathetic in the house. She'd gone through a lot. She'd shown a lot of resiliency. She also showed a lot of maturity in a lot of ways. She had a lot of hard things happen to her. She wasn't shy about sharing those. So, her reaction when Gasper picked her for that, which is like, wow, a girl like me, please let her go. And then same with Brian. Like, Brian, he really is a cattle rancher in Texas. Like, that is what he does. And so I mean, Gasper being the great guy is like, of course he picked them, and that was a great choice.
Cool, cool. Yeah, you still chilling, whatnot. So no ill will.
Yeah.
Some people might be upset not going, but hey, it is what it is at that point. Some people feel like Julie, she was safe, and now she gets to go on the trip. Do you think she's getting a target on her back with all this extra special treatment?
It didn't feel that way. Like, it really felt like the boys really liked her and supported her. And like at that point, the girls were kind of supporting her. So, and that was coming off of everyone being friends. And so I think everybody was like being adults about it,
Yeah, no, it
was
didn't
my
seem like
impression.
yeah, it
Yeah,
didn't seem like in too much ill will intent, but we don't see everything.
that's
Um,
true. Yeah, I didn't pick any up.
okay, okay. And so while they're on the excursion, Winnie and Tolu kind of, and Julie, not Julie, Winnie and Tolu mostly, while Brian and Julie are on the excursion, they're like, we got to get Bryce out of here because he told, he sat Tolu and Winnie down to the side and told them what's up. Do they come up to you and say, this is the plan?
So I knew, I mean, I was really in with Winnie and Tolu and Julie at that point. So I knew what they were like. I knew they were pissed. I knew they were going after him. When Brian and Julie went on their excursion, they actually awarded us with spa day, massages. Like, we were living it up back at the house. Like, I was glad to have had a massage. Actually, in way better than an excursion for me. I was stoked. And so Winnie and Tolu, you'll see this in the show. Tolu and I were getting a massage together, and that's when we started talking about Bryce. And she was just firming up the vote there, like, we got to get him out. He can't say stuff like that. He doesn't deserve to be here. And I was like a foot soldier for that alliance. A tier on that alliance is Winnie and Tolu. Those two were definitely connected and going to the end. Julie shared a room with them. She was the same age as them. They lived in the same area. They had so much in common. So she was B tier. And then I was definitely like C tier. Like, she's here. But like, I don't know that we have to protect her, but she's like a foot soldier, like, do what we ask. And I certainly would. And so that's kind of when they were like, vote Bryce. And then Bryce wouldn't save himself. And again, it wasn't me. We're here to play. Let's
Yeah, no, definitely. That's what kind of what it seemed. And you weren't first or second on both of their lists. So I mean,
Yeah.
they each had each other's first. Julie seemed to be a second, and then you were kind of just there left in the wind. Yeah, and it was obvious from
Giving me
watching.
information. So I was that way for both sides of the house, and I felt like I was getting information. I knew everything that would happen at a trust ceremony, so I never really even fell out of the loop until
Yeah,
the end when Gasper voted for me. But we can talk about that in a minute.
yeah. We get.
I was definitely out of the loop on that.
No, definitely, definitely. I would have been too. Because everything these people you have to take for face value at the most part, unless they're being real sneaky and suspicious around you. But when Julie and Brian are on their excursion, Brian declines the offer to even look at it, and Julie accepts to look at it. So I'll ask you, would you would have looked at this offer?
Yeah, so money was never ever my motivator. So no, it was pretty easy for me. No, I would have never put my game at risk for money.
Okay, cool. Well, Julie decided the latter. And, at the next trust ceremony, she'll get $15,000 if the person she votes for goes home. And, kind of simple for her at this point. This probably was the easiest one because you already had two people on head hunting for Bryce, and you added the third wheel to it. And then she's like, all right, cool. She got back to the house. What are we doing? This? Cool. Perfect. I got my
Yeah.
money. He's out. And, Julie, how she felt about him. Do you think it was fair for them to make these assumptions about Bryce needing to go home because he was already rich?
Okay, so my view on the game was different than everyone else's. I wasn't really, again, my view was like, whoever can make it to the end deserves to make it to the end. I wasn't making like deserve or not deserve. I felt like I wasn't the judge of that. They didn't tell us what the rules were. So I didn't get I didn't get too wrapped up in deserve or not deserve. Did I just think Rice deserved to go home? No, I mean, like, ultimately, no, but he did. because he did not play well. So
Okay, okay. And so soon, yeah, they get back and whatnot, and they tell everybody what happened. Julie lies about accepting the offer, but the value of the trust now is $273,000. And yeah, you say you're not surprised Brian chose not to take the offer, but you know Julie has a trigger on the money, and you a little skeptical of what she decided to do. So were you sensing this, like, okay, like she probably took it, or were you just
Oh,
taking
for
what she
me,
said?
it was always clear that Julie would take money. Like, as much as Winnie and Tolu, like they were also pretty clear about that from Winnie's very first day when she was like, "We're snipping people out of here." So I was not surprised. I assumed she did. I was happy for her if she did take some money, Julie. That sounds great. Yes, I felt like I knew, but no, it did not bother me.
Okay, okay. Well, soon it's time for the last dinner and before, or the last trust, or the next trust ceremony, sorry. And, you're talking to Bryce again. You're like, all right, this was time for coaching number three. All right, third time's the charm. And Bryce said there's more to him than a secret, which he's going to bring up at the dinner table. He has 5 employees with 5 different businesses and that he's created. His mom built. So this is where he slipped up with you. He slipped up and you caught him. And I was about to say, you better catch him, but you caught him. And he said that initially he said that the money's all him, like he created everything, and then he told you that his mom is handing the business down to you, down to him. And so but he scaled the business. So when he slipped up and said this, did like what were you thinking?
So my the way I felt that actually went down was Winnie and Tolu and Julie were really mad at him for him making the phrase "I'm a self-made millionaire." So he would go around saying that, and when I'm up talking to him, I was like, Bryce, do you know what that means? And like he didn't really know what self-made was. His definition was, I sold a house and a check is written to me, and now I'm a self-made millionaire. And I was like, no. And so I said to him, okay, this is what self-made is. If you don't if you don't have any money in your business account, will your mom hop in and pay your mortgage? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, that's not a self-made millionaire. And I'm like, that's what they're mad at. So like, I'm trying to explain this to him. And so I don't know that he slipped up more than just like, he just was not aware of like what that term meant.
Got it. Got it. That clears a lot of things up because yeah, I was like, oh, like I was thinking the same thing. That's not.
No. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, I appreciate you clearing that up because it just, yeah, I mean, I was listening and talking. I'm like, your parents handed you the business, but
Yeah, again, it's just his perspective, right? Yeah, he just didn't know.
yeah. He also told you that, um, well, you say, you speaking to him and you realize he was born in a real privilege, but he doesn't know that he was born in a privilege and he's not even really part of the real world and he just doesn't really see kind of like what's going on. And he says outside of the house, no one knows how much money he makes and no one knows that he's a millionaire. Do you think that's factual?
Yeah, I'm not. So I don't think here's where I'm torn on that. Okay, is that I don't think Bryce would say that. Like, I don't think he lies. Like, I don't really think that's his natural state. But like, it's obvious that people know. I think there's rumors that his aunt is Sandra Lee. Like,
Wait,
he's
who? What?
there's. Have you heard
I,
this?
no.
Yeah, look that up. Like again, that might be internet rumor, but like there's rumors that his aunt is Sandra Lee, like the famous baker, and like he was wearing a $200,000 watch from her.
Oh my god.
So, yeah, I'm not real sure where he's coming at with that. No, I don't think that's true, but do I think I think it's another I'm a self-made man kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, definitely. And yeah, you also say, well, if nobody in your real life knows, why did you tell everybody in
Yeah,
here?
I did say that. Because also you saw in that clip, I'm rolling my eyes because like I'm also thinking like, of course people know like your financial status.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little far fetched for me to think nobody in your family knows, but then you decide to come on the show and tell everybody. It's just like, we're not born yesterday, but look, if it helps you sleep at night, go ahead, man. That's just me though. Um, but yes, you say Bryce is flimsy like a rubber band and he doesn't have a backbone. And whatever they're done talking, you're just led to believe that he won't stand up for you, even if he needed to, and because he won't stand up for himself, and he's about to be sent out to the wolves like lamb slaughter.
It felt
But
like
yeah,
that though, didn't it?
it
A
did.
little
It
bit.
did. Give
Okay.
the pectoral work. Just make sure the
I wish I
seasoning
could have helped
cooks.
him. I wish I could have helped him, but just
Try.
knowing that those votes could come out and I just wanted to tell as few lies as possible, I had to vote with the women. I just didn't see there was no upside besides me being able to. Bryce thinks I'm awesome during the show when I could just explain to him after the show, which I did. So,
Yep, 100%. You had kind of in no man's land at that point.
yeah.
But soon, yes, it's time for the trust ceremony, and it's time for his speech that you guys been working on. You've been practicing, okay, this line, we're not gonna do this last time. We're gonna do this time. So we got it down pat. It would have been funny if they would have shown a compilation of y'all just practicing this
I
speech, and then
know.
it just completely goes off the grid. But
Typically
he
happens
said
with my customers the first time out. Like you do have to practice these things. Yeah.
exactly. That's why go to Lindsay, the business coach now. But
That's
make sure you got
right.
to practice at home. Just because you do it with each other is not enough. You got to do it
It's
at
not
home.
enough. You got to do it. Yep.
But yes, there soon, everyone starts, they're talking, you guys are talking and whatnot. And Tolu pretty much asked Bryce, so what are you here for essentially? He says he wants to community, build a community together. He wants to bring the trust together and wants that everyone wants to know who he is. And, he's receptive to other people's opinions. He says money is convoluted. And he says ultimately that's not what defines him. Kind of dodged the question here a lot. He didn't really answer what's going on. So how are you feeling about seeing him this third time, like trying to explain things?
Just, I mean, I'm feeling for the dude. Like, I think I'm thinking just like, be quiet, just stop talking now. And then it was over, really. Yeah.
It was over. It was over. And just like when the Dream Girls had to break up and, Effie got kicked out the group, it was all over. So definitely that was the end. That's all she wrote. And Bryce has been left the building. And,
Bryce has
he
left the
feels,
building.
yeah, he left the building. He left out with Grace, You guys, he took a wine glass with him out, I noticed, which was kind of funny.
Yeah, I thought that was funny, picking up your glass and asking who here is gonna like say they voted for me. Like that was intense. And I'm not really surprised. And what's the benefit of speaking up at that point?
Did you feel like, how were you feeling like internally? Were you just dying like him to admit this secret, or were you like,
No, I was just like, I mean, I felt safe. So I'm watching the show just like the viewers at this point.
okay, cool. Yeah, she's sitting back like, ooh. I wonder who voted him out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, then you're getting ready for like the boys to be super pissed at that point. So you're like getting ready. You're getting your game face on for what's about to go down after Bryce leaves. Because we know what happened after Simone left and everyone was pissed. And like we are blindsiding the boys like left and right because they just think everything's gonna be great. And then it never is. And they just get more and more pissed every time we vote someone out and they don't know it.
Yeah, definitely. It's turning into those settings right now. And soon, the guy's upset, but then they get together and they're like, we got to take control. We got to get Winnie out first. And, that's the game plan. So do they let you know that they're targeting Winnie?
Okay, so yes. Let me remind myself.
Right after Bryce gets gone, and the next day that night they're talking about we need to vote Winnie out because she's the head of the snake.
Yeah, so it was at that point where the boys so this is, I believe, what happened was, so this is when Julie and Jake, the Julie and Jake relationship really made everything so complicated when it came to the alliances, because Julie was, I think she was loyal to girls, but she really liked Jake, and so she was halfway loyal to him. And so at this time, that was just going on, and the girls, Tolu and Winnie, this is when they were like writing Julie out. So basically, she's dead to us. She didn't say that she would pick us over Jake, and so that's when, and so Jake and the boys were like, we got to get Winnie out because they're coming after Julie, and they're so, they're not being kind to Julie and like all this stuff about Julie. And so that's really where the lines were drawn, because the Julie thing was just, it really made everything so messy.
Yeah, definitely did. It was like Romeo and Juliet,
Yeah, I didn't even know where she stood really. And so I couldn't really blame Tolu and Winnie for being pissed at her, but that the women's alliance was just gone at that point. And then Julie was telling me, like, because I would talk to Winnie and Tolu, and they're like, Julie's out, she's dead to me, she's gone. And like, it's like, you're focused on getting Julie out, who's not coming after you, but like they were really going after her, and I didn't really see the need besides they were just like wanting to get her out. And so then I felt nervous because then Julie was telling me that they were calling me disposable and that they were just bossing me around and that they would eventually cut me. And so that's really where I was like, okay, this women's alliance, it's not going to work. Here we go again. Reality TV, women's alliances never work out because we eat ourselves from the inside out.
I mean, you said it yourself. I mean, it happened on Survivor this last season too.
It's the it's a female thing. It's a protective thing. I don't really know what it is past that, but it gets us every time with as much positive things there are about being a woman. Like that is not what is our strength is for some reason. I hope we can change that one day.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe the traders have something to do with that, but that show, I don't think so either. It's going good for them so far. If you've been watching that, but I don't know. We'll see.
I
But yeah, I mean,
know.
I co-sign with that because I mean, not to get off topic, but Squid Game they had a women's thing too, and that fell apart instantly.
I really had high hopes because Winnie and Tolu, strong, awesome women. I'm like ready to go. I was like at the finish line with the women in my dreams, and it didn't really work out.
Yeah. No, I think a big thing for alliances in general to work, not just female ones, but everyone has to kind of lower. You have to really kind of lower everyone's ego. Has to be just grounded, and if everyone can have that, then you really can think together instead of thinking one person's higher up on the branch than the other. If
It's an
everyone's you
excellent
can treat
point.
everyone equal, then I think no one's gonna feel left out, and no one's gonna feel like they need to turn their back on anyone. If there's a relationship involved, like Julie and Jake, it does mess up things, but this game specifically, you guys didn't have to get somebody out. So that's where kind of like, you got to just bring it down. Like, do we need to do this? Is it like a decision like a Big Brother Survivor where somebody has to go home? Then we can figure some things out. But if it's not, you know, if it is, then we have Brian on the table. We got Gasper on the table. We have, I guess Jay's in your alliance. So you guys have two other people still, and Jake, I guess still. But if Julie doesn't want him out, you have two other people
Yeah, we have
that you
plenty of
can get out.
options.
So, but nothing else was brought up on the table. So it was interesting. But yes, soon, Jake and Brian bring you to the fourfold after everything goes down, and they're talking to you about what the plan is to ride with you, Jake, Brian, and Gasper, and Julie to the end, and you guys form this essential final five. And you said you wanted to align with the women in the house, like you said, but then things fell apart, and you don't feel safe with them, but you felt safe with the guys. And so, what was like the final turning point for that safe feeling?
It was. I mean, when I blew one of the mistakes I made that I would do again was blowing out Winnie's candle. And that's really that was a mistake. I was actually I was feeling extra safe. I wasn't thinking strategically that night. I honestly had believed that Winnie told the most lies, and so I just went up and blew out that candle. I should have thought through it. With that mistake, I mean, the lines were drawn. The next day was poker. The boys are out me as their BFF, and like it's done. It's just done. So it was a mistake, actually. It was a mistake.
So you think you took the candle game a little too serious and should have just maybe just picked someone random,
Oh,
like
dude, I should have picked Mama Jay. I could have picked Jake. I could have picked Gasper. It's the same thing with like, why did Jewels pick Tolu? Like, you pick somebody who's not going to be mad about it, period. But I was just like, who told the most lies? Well, I know Winnie does. I
yeah, no,
wasn't thinking.
they make it real serious and they make it seem like you have to tell what you really feeling. Because I'm like, oh, everyone's just
Yeah,
lying.
like I felt that way. Yes. Like I was like, and as I said, I tried to tell the truth in most instances. So that always felt safe. So I thought we were blindfolded. I undid my blindfold. It was already blown out twice. I'm like, okay, she's like everyone's voting for her. Like this is fine. But
Yeah.
it was not a good choice.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was a setup, and it's hard, like you just said. You want to tell the truth most of the time, but there are small instances where it's okay to kind of lie because no one will ever know or it won't matter. And I
Yes.
think, if you blew out, like you said, Gasper, Brian, even Jake, maybe even Julie, they really wouldn't care
Julie
that
obviously
much.
didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because she did tell the most lies at that point. So I was like, oh, duh, how you gonna be mad because she did? But some people who may have did tell lies, they might have told lies or not, but they would have they're just more emotional about the fact that people don't think of them as trustworthy, and
Yeah,
so
I was not, that was not my most strategic move. And where, like, really ultimately, as I'm flying home from the show, I'm like, why did I do that? Like, that's the thing. I'm just like, that was not the best move.
yeah. So well, soon, yes, we finish the candles, and you lie about what happened,
Oh man,
and
that was my major lie. And you can tell I wasn't even confident in telling them that lie. It was not my comfort space. If I could have just taken a moment and a beat, but I was so panicked that I had lied and she was so pissed that I was just like really just going with it. Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, I don't think you say you blew her candle out. I don't think if you told her the truth, she would have been happy either.
No, she's not. No, she was not ready for truth. No.
Exactly. So I don't blame you for like lying there because it didn't have to come out, like there wasn't no game or test like saying, oh, let's find out who blew out the candles. She was just being Inspector Gadget and trying to figure out everything that was going on. I didn't see the big purpose in finding out who voted for whose candle because she got to go to the vault anyways. So you should be happy people voted your candle, blew your candle out. So
Yeah.
I wasn't following that of her angst against it because she got a prize for it. So
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be called a lie. You don't want your candles blown out. Like, that's not a good look for anyone, you know?
yeah, true. She got a prize though, but that's what I'm looking at it. Look, let me put it like this: if people all said I was a snake, I was this, I was that, but I got a prize because y'all think
Yeah,
this, then keep
apparently
thinking that.
your values are prizes.
I mean, look, opinions can be changed. The prizes can't be won back.
That's true.
So if y'all want to say all these things and I keep getting more money because of it, I mean, look now. I mean, nope. The thing is, Gasper, he didn't get picked, and he could have had a prize, but he gave it away. So I
It's
guess
true.
the less people think about you in this kind of game, it's like can be good for you because then you get an opportunity to make some extra money per se. So
Yeah.
that's just how I'm looking. I know it's from a viewer standpoint, it's hard and you're in the moment. I totally get it. You don't see everything, so the viewers have that luxury. So just to be transparent, like you guys are in the moment. You don't know all
Yeah.
these things, and it's the first time this game is being played, so you don't
Yeah, and
have the
basically you have three people being like, I don't trust you, and you don't know who they are. Like, it's very unsettling.
exactly, exactly. So I totally understand. But soon, yes, Winnie's trying to figure out what's going on, and they're admitting they voted for Bryce, so that's coming out and whatnot. And yeah, Winnie and Tolu are, they're kind of putting themselves in a little corner against everyone because they're going off on everybody, even the flies and the rats in the house. Like everybody's getting it, and it gets pretty hostile. But yeah,
It
Winnie gets
it was intense that day, yeah.
And then when he goes in the vault, she gets the $20,000 offer to keep if no one is voted out. $20,000 the trust is hers to keep if no one is voted out in the next trust. If no one is voted out in the next trust, she's going home. But she comes back, lies about the number. Not really that big of a deal. But you know, they say they want Jake out still, but she's figuring things out, and like who voted for that last thing? They keep trying to figure it out, and they finally, ultimately, come back to you, and they corner you. So tell me how that went when they kind of came to you.
Sucked because I had went to the boys. I knew I had made that mistake. I knew I wasn't being strategic, and I was like, guys, if you could just say you don't know or you're not willing to say. They weren't getting along anyway. Like, you can just like leave an air of mystery out there. They all said that they would cover me because I was obviously with them and they needed me and all these kind of things. But you can't ask Brian to lie. Period. He just can't do it. It's just not in his DNA.
Yeah, nah, it was. I mean,
Not even withholding the truth and saying I won't tell you. He just needs to tell.
yeah, nah, that's tough. I mean, I have plenty of some of those people around me, and it's like, look, I think I have no problem with people that want to tell the truth. That's great. That's great. But there's certain points that I think is just okay to just withhold some things because the truth can hurt your friends and hurt people around you way more than what you think it can. You think you're doing the right thing, but ultimately I mean, there's a reason you don't tell your kids every single thing exactly what's going on because it's better left unsaid.
Yeah,
So
and I think that's like one of the themes of the show. Are lies of omission lies? Like where's that line, you know? I got called out a lot on, well, yeah, but you just didn't tell us. And it was like, is that a lie or not? And I think that's a big question, basically what you're
yeah,
saying. Yeah.
yeah, there's no real answer to that. It's kind of judgment and scenario by scenario, I'd say. Some people gotta always tell the truth. Some people never want to tell it. Some people, it's sometimes. I'm more of a like, I'll tell the truth for the most part, but if it's not going to benefit me per se, or it's not going to make a difference, then I'll just keep things quiet per
Yeah.
se.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's how I stand on that truth lie factor of
I
the
wish
game.
Brian would have been that way. I would have been a lot better off.
Exactly.
She was really mad. Yeah.
Exactly. But soon it's time for the next game, and we pull up to the dinner poker table essentially, and this is the test. It's a building block of trust after it was broken down the other night. Brooke says that this is going to test to see, everyone has a stack of cards in front of them with everyone's names. You're going to put it down based on the questions, et cetera, et cetera. So how are you feeling about this little poker card game?
I'm feeling full of anxiety because the house is really at each other. So there was a big storm that day, and this house is huge. And so we were really at each other, like we were really fighting that day. And with the wind and the rain and the palm trees, and then every couple of minutes, a door would slam because of the wind, and like it was really dramatic. And honestly, I felt when we were walking down those stairs, I thought I can't speak for anyone else. I'm pretty sure everyone was here. We thought we were going to go vote out Winnie. And so I was like, if I could just make it through this day, I know she's mad. Like, we can just, like, she can go home and, like, it'll be okay. We walk down to poker, and I'm just like, what? This sucks because I still have a Winnie problem, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It can be awkward, somebody around you that y'all not getting
Yeah,
along.
who's that mad at you? Yeah.
It's just awkward. Yeah, it's just awkward. It's like, it's uncomfortable feeling. So I definitely get you on that. But yes, you guys start playing this game, and it seems to go on for a while. You do a lot of turns and takes and whatnot, and it fast forwards through that, so we didn't get to hear everything. But Brian ultimately is the one with the most chips. He is the noble, righteous guy at the table, and he. But during this game, also, Jake flips over a card saying who he trusts the most, and it is you, and you are not happy about this. So when you see this go down, what are you thinking in your head?
I mean, my heart skipped several beats. I got real anxious, and then Gasper does the same thing. And I'm like, okay, I mean, like, oh, she's going to be so mad at me. This sucks.
Yeah, that was the. I mean, did you? So did you talk to them afterward? What was their reasoning? Because they
They're,
obviously
I
trusted
mean,
you
they
more.
were not strategic players. Like you heard Jake in an interview. I flipped that over because I trusted Lindsay the most. Like they did trust me the most because again, I was the only one who knew Big Brother and knew these games. So I was calling shots. Like every person individually had come up to me. Maybe not Winnie and Tolu so much, but everybody else. How do you know everything that's going to happen? Like, because I'd be like, it's doing this, and then we're going to do this, and like this is what's going to happen. And so they trusted me the most for that reason because I was calling it. Like, for example, Tolu at one point said right before this, Tolu goes, I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to create some fake tears and I'm going to get Gasper to feel bad for me so that he'll come over to my side. And so I go down to Gasper. This is on the stormy day. And I'm like, Gasper, in about 5 minutes, Tolu's going to walk down those stairs. She's going to fake cry and she's going to say this to you. Okay. Like we're on the same team still, right? Okay. And he's like, yeah, I get you. And then Tolu would do that. And as graceful and awesome as she is, and guess, oh, she's not so bad. And it was just like the pattern was the last woman that those men talked to, that's who they believed. That was the pattern.
Okay, interesting. So you made sure you got the last word in before the voting
Yeah,
ceremony.
unfortunately, I didn't after that last showing of the votes. I never got to speak to the men again. So
Yeah. Wow. I mean, moving like the tidal waves in the water right now. So easily swayed, guys. What's going on? What
I
is
know.
happening?
I knew this pattern. I would say it in a diary, like this is just how it was going down. And I would even just say it to their faces and they still couldn't see it.
Mm, interesting. Well, soon after the poker game ends, you get an additional $25,000, and but Jay gets to go into the vault because she had the least amount, and yeah, she eventually, she goes in there, she takes the money and she's out. How do you feel after you realize that she's not coming back?
Um, I felt sad. I really liked Mama J. And so and I was glad she got money. I think she was also like she was voicing her opinion that she liked the whales and she was sick of this bull crap and why does everybody always have to talk about games? So like I was hoping that she was just like happy with what she got, that she was a winner and she could go home.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she was. I think she was definitely, kind of ready to hightail up out of there because we could tell too. So,
Yeah.
um, but soon, Brooke, yeah, yeah, she gets up out of there. But soon, you kind of get talked to again because Tolu and Winnie, they call you out because you're with the guys once again, and they feel played. They do this multiple times throughout the show. It's like I documented, and I was like, dang, again. So, it's getting real hot. It's getting real hot. But you definitely see the two lines of John. It's Winnie and Tolu over here, and then the rest of the five people on the other side. Was it pretty much as obvious as we seen on screen?
Yeah, the only thing to really note, so that table where Winnie is having words with me and I'm silent. So out of anything on the show, not anything, there's a couple things on the show that I am just like, wow, that did not edit well, or like that's not what I meant. So before that table, the boys and I was like, hey, Winnie, we knew Winnie was gonna put me on blast. Like that was obvious. Okay. In fact, I thought she was gonna put Julie and myself on blast. You see there, she's like, Julie, you're great. Lindsey, let's do this. I was like, oh shoot, like I don't even get like diluted madness here. It's all at me. And so the boys and Julie and I were strategizing about this table, and we had decided, because we like Winnie and Tolu, like we don't want a volatile situation to become any more volatile. And with any, I was reaching for as many people skills as I could, and I was just like, I don't know. What I know is like you don't stoke the fire, and you're just like, the less you say the better this is. So we went in, I'm like, here's my sins, this is what she's going to say, and that's what she said. And the boys were like, yeah, just stay silent. Let's not make this more volatile. And we'll step in and stick up for you, when the only person that actually did at that table was Julie. And so that's why you just see me sitting there, because I just didn't want to make a bad situation that much worse.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah,
But
you
I would do it
prefer.
again. I would stick up for myself next time. Like it did not, that's what happened, but like that's not how I wanted to present myself.
Yeah, I feel you. So during this kind of bereavement, I know that we get a lot cut out, but it seems like there was some significant thing because we see you mentioned she takes personal shots and whatnot, not just like what you did and what you lied about, and that really made you upset, as well as the guys not sticking up for you like they said. Was there anything like that really stuck out to you about what she was saying to you that really was just like, nah, this is crossed the line?
Yeah, so for me, because I'm a mother of three, and I was on the show. I want to be a good role model for my kids, and so at that table, I mean, just the name calling was really. I mean, that conversation lasted a good 45 minutes. She just was yelling at me. It was a very long conversation, very intense, and just like, yeah, the name calling, just like anything. I felt like anything she could feel like she could call me name wise that was good for TV. Like it was just out there. So I just had never really been in a situation where someone's just calling me names. And no, she didn't use my family, but it was just like, I have kids like watching this. Like I talked to her about my kids and stuff. And so it just felt like it wasn't respectful at all. And I think she was even like, yeah, I think she even was like, yeah, kids, your mom's a snake. Like just my family is like, it's my family. Please just leave him out of it.
Yeah, you gotta leave the family out of it now. Well, ooh. Yeah, it sounded pretty heavy based off, your reaction afterwards, because we only get maybe like 5 minutes to 10 minutes at most of it, and so
Yeah, it was a lot.
it seemed pretty heavy, and yeah, I personally don't condone bringing people's families into things when it has nothing to do with them. Leave it at me. I'll take the bullets, but when you bring like my spouse or kids or relatives into it, then it turns into something completely different. So, because I only can imagine it. Say that was like Jake, and they were going at him, and they mentioned his like son, like that would have.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. I don't condone those things. But ultimately, you guys all vote out Winnie, of course,
Let me
because
add one more thing. So as I brought that up to Tolu and stuff, there was a part that they didn't edit out, which is on our final table. She did look at the camera and was like, "Hey kids, your mom is not a snake and all these things." So like she did, like after explaining that to her, she doesn't have kids and
okay, good. I'm glad she did that.
she did.
Uh, good. So yes, ultimately Winnie gets voted out, and she has nothing to say to the group. She walks out. So how are you feeling now that she's out of the house?
I'm feeling like the tensions are much less, but obviously um like, yeah, I'm feeling like tensions are less, but, like, I'm uneasy. I just got nobody stuck up for me. I'm feeling like the lone wolf again, feeling kinda used by both sides, and no one's gonna protect me. Nobody really cares about what just happened at that table. I'm feeling very alone. Uh, it was not my favorite time in the house.
Okay. Well, soon after that, Brian does reveal he has a key card. So what do you think about that?
I feel like I am on my deathbed. So I'm like, okay, there's this unknown. I actually pack my stuff the next morning because I'm like, there is a big fat chance I'm going home. I just felt very uneasy. Like I thought I was there, but I'm not there, and I'm probably like I thought there was a fairly significant chance that I was on my way out.
Okay. Well, yes, we find out once Brian gets into the vault that, he accepts the offer. But this is an interesting one because he gets to actually look at the offer. No. He chooses to take the offer because he doesn't want to give the responsibility to someone else. And it's $30,000. Big
That's big.
prize. Yeah, that's huge. But he must randomly block three people's votes at the next trust ceremony. And the people's votes who is blocked is Julie, Jake, and Brian. And it's just three random cards. He walks out, tells everyone. So when he tells you guys this, how are you feeling what are you thinking when he tells you what happened?
I was fine with that. I was more just worried about my safety. Like I didn't really care that he took the money. That didn't really bother me. I, I was just like, those three cards are not good.
Yeah, definitely. It's because you don't know what's going on. Is your vote count or did it
Yeah,
not
like it
count?
doesn't. I don't even know who to campaign to. I don't really know.
Well, I think, as long as you have your alliance, it's 5 versus 1 at this point. So it doesn't matter who you say
Yeah,
anything
and the
to.
boys were like, "We got you covered. You're totally fine. This is what's happening, but you're fine. You're totally fine." But I was just like, "Yeah, I don't think so."
Yeah, because like you said, the last person that talks to him, that's the one that we know gets
Yes.
slandered. So we're going to regurgitate that theme. But yes, Brian and Jake are convinced Tolu will vote. Julie doesn't think she will. And Julie's tired of people asking her to vote. So if you're pleading to her, she's probably like, I
Can't
don't
do
want to
it.
hear it. Yeah, so she's kind of just lost in the sauce in that moment as well. But then, yes, the next morning comes and, you know, you're sitting with Tolu and the boys and whatnot at the fireplace, I believe, but you asked Tolu to exit the building or the premises per se. So tell me about that section right there.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because that is really top on the mistakes that I wish I wouldn't have made. I did not take Tolu's feelings at all into account. This is what was happening was that morning I knew I was going home. I had prepped my speech for my alliance as not great as it was. Like it didn't include the idiots part, but I went down and I was actually in the middle of having a conversation with these guys. I was like halfway through just ramping up to like this is how we all make it out of here, and Tolu came in. Now, again, did not take her feelings into account, would not play that the same way again. But in Big Brother, and I thought this was okay, in Big Brother, they will often do that. Hey, can we have 10 minutes? I'm just talking, I'm just finishing this up with these people. So I thought it was totally fine, was not fine. And that's kind of what you saw there.
Yeah, no, you're sitting there, and Tolu was not happy about being asked to leave, because she felt like she was already kind of isolated at that point,
Definitely.
and that's kind of rubbing salt in the wound for her. But then, yeah, you said you trust the guys, but you don't feel like they're willing to make the hard decisions. You say, because when Gasper and Jake outed you on the trust poker game that was messing you up. And then the candle situation when Brian outed you. And, you said you can live with an air of mystery without lying. And she said you outed your spy and it sucks. And, you're going off on them. You're like, idiot sandwich, idiot sandwich, idiot sandwich, the whole nine. It was.
It's like this, okay? It's like I got 3 kids, and you ask them to clean their room, and then you ask them again, and you ask them again, and then finally you walk up there and like still haven't done it. And I think the boys are doing their best, but I had planned a more calm speech. This is how it played out. That didn't earn me any votes.
So after your speech, how were you feeling? Did you feel like, oh, I got my message across at that moment in time?
Well, I mean, I was so hurt by them not like sticking up for me at that table and just like feeling so alone. It felt better to be heard, and I felt like we could move forward as an alliance at that point. So I felt like we were okay. You kind of see, I called them idiots, yes, but we're like laughing at the end.
Yeah, it didn't come across as like
a real
actually.
idiot thing. And so like I personally felt better, and that like one of the previews that didn't make the show was you see me out talking to the boys being like, hey, I covered for you. I've been doing all this stuff for you. And so I felt like heard and appreciated for what I brought to the team. That's what I was looking for. I definitely could have worded it better.
Okay. Well, Bryce might have to coach you on some.
I know. I mean, really.
Y'all can coach each other. Y'all coach each other. That'll be a great show to kind of see.
Yeah, let's do that.
Definitely get a video of doing that. That'll be amazing. But yeah, soon it's time for the next test per se, and it's the envelopes. Everybody gets envelope and shows your voting history and whatnot. And if you show it, everyone who shows it, you add $5,000 to the trust. And if everyone does it, then you get that doubled. And so, Gasper goes first. Obviously, he only voted for Winnie. Jake is next. He only voted for Winnie. Brian's next. He only voted for Winnie. And you say, of course, Gasper, Brian, and Jake. And because they're all Mr. Squeaky Clean. They don't have any dirt spots on them and whatnot. No one's surprised. Tolu, she's excited to see your voting history. And she's weighing her options. But then you volunteer to go next, and it shows that you voted for Jewels, Bryce, and Winnie. I don't think anyone should be shocked by any of those. All the girls knew you voted for Jewels. All the girls knew you voted for Bryce. Winnie was a duh, so it's not. I don't think yours shocked anyone per se.
The boys did not know at that point that I voted out Jewels. In fact, Brian had asked me, "Did you vote for Jewels?" And because I don't like to lie, I was like, "I don't trust you enough to tell you," is what I told him. And so the boys were surprised that I personally was like, I didn't feel like what I did when I was with a different alliance mattered. And so I wish I would have probably told them. I think that would have built up my trust, but I do think they were surprised at me voting out Jewels. I don't think that helped me in Gasper's eyes.
Yeah, Gasper, he's switching it up a little bit at the end of the game. He's gonna be a more suspect of things. So it's interesting to talk to him about some things and how he really feels, because his whole thing in this whole entire show, he's just kind of just there, like he's not really moving no. He
literally said to me, like, I cannot vote anyone out of this house because I don't want my students to see me do that. Like this was his line. When that came out, the show, Netflix gave us access to that show 4 days before the world saw it. And all this time for 9 months, I'm like, Brian, maybe, sure. Tolu absolutely voted for me. Jake, maybe. I never even considered, because of this and how close Gasper and I were, we'd share about our kids and stuff, that it was ever him. So when it came out that those were the cards, I'm like doing math. Like, does that mean Gasper voted for me? Like, my jaw was on the floor, never considered it. Total surprise. Can't believe it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think he had it in him, like you said. I was shocked. I wonder what his students think now.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, everyone eventually reveals their voting blocks and whatnot, or voting envelopes. And Gasper, like you just said, he's surprised, but he understands why everyone did what they did. But then Tolu's outing you more. She's like putting you on the stoop essentially, and putting you on display for everyone kind of to see. How are you feeling when she's calling you out like this?
I mean, not great. So we show our votes, and then I go in for an interview, and I was never actually able to talk to the gentleman again until till that final table. So Tolu was able to like talk to the boys after that vote. I don't really know what was said there, and then we go in for that final voting ceremony. So I knew I was in a lot of trouble because like I do, I could have said. I mean, my final speech, I feel pretty. I feel like I tried to make my case there. It obviously didn't push Gasper over enough. So
Yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of unfortunate how, I guess production got in the way of the game per se, and they took you away. And
well, yeah, I don't know about that, but
I don't say it that far. I won't
it's
say that
timing.
far, but you just, yeah, the timing of things. I'll say the timing of things when you weren't able to be around because that was a very crucial moment
Yeah.
for you to be present and
Yes.
whatnot. But yes, you also tell it's soon time to go to the table, and you say that you know you can't help the team if your own self isn't protected, and you were just mean a little bit, but you can't trust that the guys won't completely keep you. So kind of explain. Can you explain what you mean? I know what you mean, but I guess for people who don't understand when you say you can't protect yourself, you can't protect the team if you can't protect yourself.
Yeah, I was really inspired by like as a mother, right? 3 kids, they're all similar in age, they're young, and there's just so much to do with child upkeep that as a mom, society will tell you like you got to put yourself, just like exhaust yourself and do all the self. And early on in my motherhood, like you just get so tired, and I realized not taking care of myself, I wasn't able to serve my kids in the very best way possible. So for me as a mom, that has been something that I have to remind myself because mom guilt always gets in the way. So just a value of mine, which is you got to take care of yourself so you can serve those around you in the best way possible. And I felt like I brought that to the game. It could seem selfish to some, but I just knew, like, as I said, I can't, it's just like on an airplane, put on your mask first, people, before you can help anyone else. And so that's just kind of like how I roll.
Makes sense. Perfectly makes sense. I understand it. So we get to the votes. You vote for Tolu, of course. She votes for you. Everyone else doesn't vote. We know that Gasper is the last remaining soldier to vote for you. And so you find out that your name is called. How are you feeling when Brooke says your name?
Like I said, I was at like I'm 75% sure I'm outie. So I was ready, but I was still like shocked. I go in for that interview. Who do you think did it? You see me, like I name everyone but Gasper. Um, it was like a wild ride. It's over. But I will say this, which you didn't see in the edit, which was after we go vote, we're still sitting at the table. Brooke's doing stuff, whatever. They're doing stuff and we're talking. And Tolu and I actually make amends at that table. Like the amends we should have made 10 minutes earlier. Like I put my defenses down, her and I reconnect. We have some wonderful words together and we're like, good. And I wish I would have done that 10 minutes before. It was too late. So I felt good about leaving.
Good, good. That's good. So you get voted out. You don't get to talk to anyone after that. You're headed up out of there. When you get on the plane, headed back home, what's kind of going through your head
I
as
shouldn't
things
have
are
blown
settling
out
in?
Winnie's candle. Period.
I take it you don't have no candles in your house, huh? Anybody no
Like
candles?
I'm watching that episode under my covers, holding my husband's hand with anxiety. Like, what am I doing?
I mean, yeah. Look, now, we ain't gonna see no candles at Winnie's house, all right? And when she's doing her business, don't ask her about nothing either about no candles. Just keep it. Don't bring
Yeah.
no candles to her birthday. Just keep it settled
Yeah,
at
let's
home.
just keep it.
Okay, well, yeah, that's I think that ends your journey there on the trust. So close to the end. And I don't think, anybody would have voted at the end as well. Do you think if you would have made it to the end, you would have cast a vote? If say
No,
6 of
I
you
would
were
have never
there?
cast a vote. And quite frankly, like because money was never my motivation, everyone had such a compelling reason they needed the money. The reason I needed it was so uncompelling that I wouldn't even felt right from taking it from them. So in a way, I'm glad I'm voted out. But in another way, I'm like, I don't know. Like I would have said something like I can't. Brian's adopting a baby. Tolu, Julie, like I just don't have the reasons that they benefit.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, cool. Well, yeah. I mean, look. You definitely brought a new fact, a good factor to the show, and
Thank you.
a very creative and boisterous element to where, you were a standout. I think that shows need people who are going to push the envelope per se, and stand a ground on their own. You were kind of playing a little the middle, but you had a plan and strategy and you played the game. We need people to play these games because we could have went through this whole show without anybody doing a single thing. And
Yeah.
we would have just been like, what did we just watch? I'm sure, So it's good that you found some people working with and you made moves, but then when you've decided not to make moves, you didn't make it. And I commend that people making moves and doing things more than just kind of just sitting back, putting their hands behind their head and just kicking their feet up.
Yeah, I
So
appreciate that. Thank
it's
you.
definitely good to see that because unfortunately those players typically don't win but they're the ones most remembered and make the most impact, and I think that has a longer lasting impact than making it to the
Even
end
winning the
quietly.
game. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Honestly, truthfully. Well, cool, Lindsay. I thank you so much for joining me. Is there any last words you want to say before we get up on out of here?
Just thanks to everybody who has been a fan of the show. It was a really great show. Working with Netflix was awesome. Working with that cast was awesome. And just like take it easy on people. You don't have to take it easy on me, but like in defense of everyone else, just like they are good people. This is a slice of people's lives, and they're good people. Okay? Like that's what I want to say.
Cool. I love that message. Y'all be kind, be courteous, and be understanding. There's two sides to every story. Make sure to follow Lindsay at the.lindsey.anderson on Instagram. And can you shout out your business a little bit and explain what that is before we get out of here?
Sure. So my business is Lindsey Anderson Coaching. So I'm an online business strategist, helping people build profitable online businesses. So that's using social media to get more high paying customers and those kind of things. So you can go to lindsaya.com. I always do free courses and stuff like that. So thanks for allowing me to do that. Head over to my website. There's like lots of free stuff if you want to check that out.
Check it out, y'all, because I know I might have to do that when I get done with these little trips.
Let's make
Uh,
some money.
exactly. Come on now. I'm
Yeah, there's a
there.
lot of ways to make money. Yeah,
Well, we like doing that, y'all.
I
Especially
know.
the show. So make sure to hit her up, man, because
Thank
that's
you.
some good stuff that she's spreading out there, and she's helping, bring positivity to other people's lives, not just her own, which is very, very important.
It's important
Well,
in times like these. You know what I mean?
100%, and I commend that heavily. So thank you so much,
Appreciate
Lindsay,
you.
for bringing your beautiful soul onto the DeAndre Way, the Trust Aftermath podcast, and telling your side because it was very compelling and definitely learned a lot of things that we all did not, especially me, did not know about what was really going down. So thank you so much. I appreciate you for joining me again.
Appreciate you. You were a great host. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate y'all for joining. We out of here until next time, and I hope y'all have a good rest of the day. Peace and blessings.